Alrighty, everybody, welcome to the first ever Blue Devil podcast. This is a weird experience for me because I've never done a podcast before, but I've always wanted to do a podcast. And Miss Van Houten also wanted to do a podcast for the school. And so I'm like, let's put our ideas together and make the Blue Devil podcast, because I wasn't coming back this year, and it really stung me because I love this district. So here I am being back a part of the district, and I'm going to get a lot of crap from this from a lot of former students because there's a lot of things that were said that Braden's going to stay around forever. And I guess they're right, because here I am starting the Blue Devil podcast. I'm
honored to be your first guest on the podcast.
So when I first started telling people that this was going to be a thing, I haven't told many people. Everybody was like, either Mr. Gonder or Mr. Dimich needs to be your first guest. And I figured...
He turned you down, huh?
Well, consider it an honor that I reached out to you first. And I did reach out to Mr. Dimich, so that'll be coming soon.
Okay.
But I wanted to...
It's warm for sweater vests right now.
It is, especially in here, because I was told earlier that the air is semi-out.
I think it's working a little bit.
It's doing something, but it's not doing much. So we've got our water here, and earlier I was sitting here and I was like watching the sweat drip down my forehead.
I'm like that most days in air conditioning, so it's all good.
So anyway, hang on. I was telling Mr. Gonder before we started recording, I had my notes printed out and everything, and I left them on my desk. So I've got them on my phone here. I guess we'll start off with who am I?
But they don't know it's on your phone because this is a podcast.
But it's also a video podcast.
Oh, okay.
Because this will be on YouTube as well.
Oh, lovely.
Because, well, here's the thing.
I'm glad I did my hair.
Yeah, it looks good. Here's the thing. You can't expect a video guy to only do an audio podcast.
I didn't think so. I almost texted you yesterday and said, is there video?
Yes. The answer is yes.
I figured the answer was yes.
So, I guess for those of you who don't know me, we'll start off with I am a former student. I graduated, this year, but it's 2022. And I was definitely Mr. Gonder's favorite student. And so being able to bring him back. Oh, I guess we're not centered. Do I need to? There we go. We are bringing you back because you are no longer at the high school and I am no longer at the high school. So we're back at the high school.
Here we are.
Here at the high school.
You think they can hear me breathing at home through this microphone?
I've been told that these are the best microphones for podcasting.
Oh, okay.
So breathe all you want.
Okay, thanks.
So I guess we'll start off with, I used to be in band. I was a student of yours. I probably wasn't the best student. I was told many times to go home and practice.
By me?
By you.
Okay.
And other band leaders.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't do much practicing. Mm-hmm. And so, but I loved band. And the reason why I loved band is, one, the people, and two, the Friday nights at the football games.
I mean, there's a lot of social aspects to band.
Yes.
And I understand that all the students in the room are not there to make an amazing product.
Yeah.
But I believe that every student is in the room to partially participate in something that's bigger than themselves, mm-hmm. and to be a part of a group that is full of amazing people. So yeah, I understand that some people don't practice, and probably the majority of people don't practice.
Yep.
And Mr. Spicer will often put me in check when I'll say things like, well, this section is just not the way it should be. This needs to improve. And he said, well, would you have practiced that when you were in middle school? And the answer is probably no.
Well, you would have.
It depended. It depended on where I was in middle school. When I was in 6th grade, I wouldn't have. It was a horrible trombone player.
Okay.
Like the worst.
That makes me feel better.
And then at the end of 6th grade, I took my trombone home, which I would take it home every day, but I would put it behind the chair next to the door. And the next morning I would pick up the trombone and get on the bus and go to school. But after 6th grade, I took it home and I made a choice. And I just said, I can continue to not like band. I liked the teacher. I liked being in the class, but I didn't like the music because I couldn't read it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just made the choice to practice. And I came back and I got first chair in 7th grade band, and it was different. It was really weird, and I'm glad I chose just to practice.
So I was in that same position as you are, but I made the opposite choice to leave. And I have to tell you,
You left later in high school, though.
Yes, it was after my sophomore year, I think. And I don't get scared a lot. I was absolutely terrified, to tell you. Mm-hmm. And that is because which is so important with anything, you held such a high standard, and I felt like I wasn't meeting that standard. And so I felt like it was more of a benefit for the whole class that I left and I didn't stay, because I loved the social aspect of it, but I also had a very busy schedule, and there was a lot going on.
You did, yeah.
But I had so much respect for you, and I still do, that I was worried about what you said. And I have to say, you handled it in a very professional manner. And it took a lot of, like, I remember walking out of your office that day, just, I can breathe. But no, I did enjoy band at the time.
You gave it a shot.
Yeah.
You gave it 2 years at the high school level. And what makes me sad is when 8th graders choose to not go on. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the saddest things I experience is kids choosing to not go into high school because of the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
And if a person gives it a shot and gives it their freshman year, give me the whole year, and then they choose, I'm not going to return, you gave it everything.
Yeah.
I respect that. You gave it 2 years. I know what you communicated that your schedule was going to be tough. You communicated your goals. And what I probably didn't tell you is that I had a similar situation in high school or in college. I don't remember if I told you this or not, but where I chose to not do participate in Wind Symphony, which is the top ensemble at Michigan State, for a semester. And my goal was I needed transportation, and therefore I needed a job, mm-hmm. and I needed to pay for the car. And so I made the choice to not do the top ensemble, instead do the symphony band, which is the second to top ensemble. And there was good and bad to both. Like I like the literature from symphony band. It's more of high school literature. So that helped me in that aspect. So I can't even say if the decision was good or bad for me.
Yeah.
But I respect your decision.
Well, you made the comment that there's some kids who choose not to go on to high school band because of the unknown. And I will say this, even though I chose to leave band, I am so glad that I did it for those 2 years, because high school band is not anywhere near middle school band.
Right.
And I'm not sure who's in charge of middle school band. Mr. Spicer is still, right?
Yep.
Excellent. I loved Mr. Spicer, and Mr. Spicer and I felt like I was pretty close with him. And so I was worried coming into high school band because I didn't know you. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how that was going to work out. And I will say, taking that initial leap to just do it, it was a great decision. I have some of my best high school memories from marching band. And so I encourage anybody who's out there listening to say yes and take the first leap. And
the toughest decision that an incoming ninth grader makes is the first day of camp.
Yeah.
If you get here, you're fine.
Oh, well, camp is an entirely different aspect.
It's tough. It's tough, but getting to that first day of camp and the nerves, the weeks and probably maybe even months leading up, I don't know what that's like, and it is tough. It's hard work, but even going to see the band perform this week, I reminded Ms. Rowe that it's important to remind the freshmen that it's all easier from here.
Yeah.
Everything gets easier from this
100% was. Yeah. There was like times during band camp I was like, and I had a back problem that year, probably because I was eating more that year. And It was so hard, but it was so rewarding at the end of the season to look back and like, wow, we like nobody ever thought like we could get that amount done in a week and then carry it on throughout the entire season.
Right.
And so it was super rewarding.
Good.
So gotta check out the old notes here. I guess we'll just dive right into what everybody is wondering.
Oh, okay.
The whole job transition.
Yeah.
So what influenced your decision to move jobs? For those of you who don't know, Mr. Gonder is now the assistant principal and the athletic director at the middle school. What is that transition like, and what influenced your decision to go there?
Well, since I was in middle school, I've known that I knew that there would be two parts of my career. One is being a music teacher, because since 6th and 7th grade, despite how bad I was in 6th grade, I knew I was going to be a band director. And in 7th grade, I knew at some point that I wanted to be a principal. And both of those people in my middle school were extremely influential. And when I got to high school, same thing. Both were mentors to me. I was reading educational law books in high school because it was interesting to me. I don't like to read stories.
Yeah.
I like to read facts.
Yeah.
And so I knew that would come at one point. And when I started teaching, I immediately started working on graduate studies in educational leadership. And there were times when it became more of interest to me. And there were times when I said, you know what, I'm really content. I have a lot more to do with band. And there was a several year period, a decade, the last decade really, where I was content. I was good. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see myself making that transition. And I really had planned out kind of the next decade of what my career would be as a band director. And then a switch was flipped, and I really, and it had been flipped on and off throughout my career. And I really felt like this is the time. Mm-hmm. If I don't make the transition now, I never will. Mm-hmm. This is a really spectacular district for a lot of reasons. And this position opened. Yeah. It's the perfect position to start. Mm-hmm. And I'm honored that the people on the committee felt that I was the person to fill that role. Yeah. And I'm excited about what's next. And I'm excited about all the things I've learned so far.
There was a lot of shock that went through the district, I think, when you made that, or when they made that announcement. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lot of, just from the people I've talked with, there was a lot of people that were shocked by the decision, but not shocked by the fact that you really belong in any kind of leadership role because of how far you've taken the band over the past year. Yeah. How are you going to be able to take the leadership style in band and apply it to something such as an assistant principal position?
Well, I think, first of all, that everyone in our school, everyone in our district plays a leadership role, no matter what their title is. And so being a teacher, band director, there's a lot of leadership involved in that. And I feel like, number one, building relationships with students was something that I really enjoyed. Mm-hmm. I liked those conversations that we would have in my office or in passing. It was a very small part of the job, but it was such a rewarding part. And you staying in contact and you coming and saying hello every day meant the world mm-hmm. to me. So those relationships that's the part of the leadership that I want to continue to take on in the new role.
Yeah. What are some of the things that the new role consists of that you've experienced? I know we haven't started a school year yet mm-hmm. by the time of recording this, but what have you learned so far about the new gig?
Well, through my advanced degrees, I knew a lot of what would go into it. I knew the trainings that I'd have to participate in and have participated in before. Mm-hmm. having the official title, because I'd gone through the ISD programs and classes and whatnot. But I think it's the eye-opening experience so far has been how many people it takes to accomplish a task.
Yeah.
And in my world before, I would make the decision and I would execute the decision.
Mm-hmm.
And now it takes many levels of people to make the decision and execute that decision. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's been different.
Yeah, something to get used to.
Yeah, it's as a person that I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
Because this is how we're going to do it, and this is how my life has been for a long time, and amazing students that follow course, and now it's just different. The process is different, and I'm learning from that, and people are helping me learn through that process.
Yeah. I have been asked to ask you,
Oh boy.
how do you plan on handling the hooligans down at the middle school?
Well, I mean, I've spent more than half of my day for the last 20 years at the middle school, so
Yeah.
Middle school students aren't new to me,
Yeah.
but I really like middle school kids. So I really think, like I said before, it's about building those relationships
100%.
and relationships that I already have with students
Yeah.
at the middle school level, that we're going to be okay.
So for those of you who don't know, I run a business, and the biggest takeaway I've gotten from since I started this was the importance of relationships and building relationships with people, not necessarily with the mindset of an end product, or in my case, getting their business, but just to have those relationships with people, because you never know where that could take you next. And so I think that
even if it doesn't take you anywhere.
Yeah, it's still important to have those relationships.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a good attribute to have, especially in a leadership role such as your new position. And I think it'll help make it easier on everybody around. I'm sorry, Nick, I can't talk to you at this time. So yeah,
Shout out to Nick on the new podcast.
Shout out to Nick. He's actually one of my new hires. So he was giving me a call there. What will you miss most about band and your position that you had there?
100% students.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm going to miss.
Yeah.
There are things I'm not going to miss. Mostly tasks that took, sometimes 18 hours a day.
Like your trip handbooks?
7 days a week. Trips are big. Yeah. But that happens once a year, every other year. That job is huge.
Yeah.
And not that the job I'm going into isn't as huge, but I'm going to miss kids.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss seeing them having positive interactions with students all day long.
Yeah.
And now I have to find those positive interactions and make sure that we're still having positive interactions throughout the day, all day long.
Right.
I get to make that choice. So.
Uh-oh. I was hoping this wouldn't happen. I had a question and now it's gone because I created an outline of questions and then I knew more would pop in my head, and they have.
Well, maybe it'll come back. You can just edit the answer later,
And then it would be like completely seamless.
You could take all my words out of sequence and make me say whatever you want.
Sound like an absolute robot. Man, no, it was like right in line with what was gonna.
It'll come back as soon as I start talking again.
Yes, that's all we need. What was your funniest moment with the band?
Funniest? Oof.
Wait, before we start that,
Okay.
I remembered the question.
Okay. Perfect.
So a lot of people didn't realize, you're just a band director. Like it can't be that much. And then because I know you better than some other people might. And so seeing the actual work that went in behind the scenes, can you tell a little bit more about what that was like? And can you warn Miss Rowe about any unexpected challenges she might have?
I think Ms. Rowe is figuring that out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tasks, and there's a lot of tasks with anybody's job. But I also took the job very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that have the same exact job in other districts that don't take it quite as seriously.
Yeah.
And that's okay too, because there's times where I wish I could be more like other people
Mm-hmm.
that are more relaxed about things.
Yeah.
And they'll probably live a lot longer than I will. But, I 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. I mean, I would sometimes meet the police in the parking lot on the way out of here because, there'd be a car in the parking lot at 2 and 3 a.m. and
Yeah.
they want to make sure that I'm safe, or who am I?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of tasks involved.
Did you ever ask for a raise?
That's not an option to ask for a raise. Their contract is
You
what the
never
contract-
demanded a raise?
It doesn't work like that.
I would have.
But money does not make those choices any easier.
Oh, 100%. I had a conversation with somebody earlier today just about their career and where they're going. And she was telling me a little bit about some schooling decisions she's made strictly based off of how much money she can make in the future.
Yeah.
And that is 100% not the way to go.
No.
It's you have to love what you do, and then money will come naturally with that.
Or maybe it doesn't.
Well, I mean, there will be money somehow associated. Yeah. You might not make great money, but at least you'll be happy.
You have to love your career choice.
Yeah.
1,000 times more than you think you do. Yeah. Because when you start to do that career,
yeah,
you're going to love it less.
Yeah.
And I still loved my job.
Yeah.
I still love Friday nights, but yeah, like you got to love it, because 20 years later, you're going to love it a little bit less than before you started.
Yeah.
And you still have to love the job. So if you're picking it based on how much money you're going to make, you don't love that job.
Especially if you're working at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. At that point, it's not really about the money.
It's not about money, but it is about seeing kids be successful because of that extra work.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, this is my first podcast. I have absolutely zero clue what I'm doing. So I'm out of questions. Do you have anything else that you could add that we might be able to continue this conversation with?
You asked me what my funniest moment was as a teacher.
Yes. Yeah. Forgot about that.
And I don't know what the answer is, but I remember you asked that question.
Well,
I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to a podcast every night.
Really?
Yes. Yep.
So people would make fun of me because they would think that I am the type of guy to listen to podcasts nonstop, like while I'm driving and no music. That's the complete opposite. I actually don't ever listen to podcasts, but I just started getting into them a little bit more.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to do a podcast because of the relationships that you can build with people and just talking with people. I actually, before the podcast, I wanted to start a YouTube channel, but like that's even harder because what am I going to do? Like, I don't live a very interesting lifestyle. And so the podcast was the next big thing, and it has to be a video podcast. So here we are.
Well, this could be on your YouTube channel and you can do both.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to get a lot of hits off of this interview, but it's a start.
We'll see.
We'll see who's next. Dimmich will get great hits.
Dimmich will go through the roof for sure. I might have to boost this one a little bit, like pay for some advertising to throw it out there. But no, I'm really excited to start this next step. Throughout the entire school year, we'll be having different people on. And so if you have requests or comments about what we could do next, I'd be more than happy to hear that. And maybe even we could have you back like at the end of the year to see how the whole first year went.
Yeah.
And see if you're going to continue the job. Yeah. Did you have to like put an ultimatum in your contract saying like, if I don't like my first year, I'm going back as band director?
No, I'm good. I'll be okay.
Okay, good.
Middle school's going to be great.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I spent a lot of time in the middle school, obviously when I was in middle school, but
Right.
also going back to middle school and going back to elementary school to help out here and there. And I loved the middle school. I really did. And just the other schools too. It's definitely an experience. And yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I had the opportunity to laugh every day.
Yeah.
So is there a funniest moment? Possibly. I don't remember what it would have been, but every day there would be a laugh. And some of them were at my expense, and that's okay.
A lot of more. Some of them behind your back.
And you know what? I'm glad to supply that.
What's the pizza plan like these days?
The pizza plan?
Yeah.
So here's a little secret. I
Okay.
really don't eat that much pizza.
What?
Yeah.
You've been lying to us
I have.
for
Yes,
years?
Absolutely.
So like what's
I love pizza, but I have pizza twice a month.
what?
Yeah.
Where do you get it from? Or do you make your own?
Usually like the frozen section, like Paul Newman's Pizza or whatever.
You don't even like order a pizza. You just you have to go through the process of making that, or at least throwing it in the oven, and that's
well, my favorite pizza is from New York City.
okay.
And I was in New York City last week, so I actually had pizza twice a day for 4 or 5 days straight.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're kind of done with pizza for a little bit then.
I would drive back right now and have more pizza. You just can't find that pizza here.
Well, if you're only doing it twice a month, you might as well.
Yeah. It's only 10 hours drive.
Is it?
Yeah. You can be in New York in 10 hours.
Well, with this new job, you can afford a private jet now.
Oh, yeah.
And so
I'll submit that requisition and
Yes.
see what happens.
I am sure Mrs. Williams would be more than happy to purchase a district jet on her card for you to use twice a month to go to New York to get
I don't
pizza.
think so. But
Well, we'll talk about it. I'll see what I can do. So anyway, since you apparently watch a lot more podcasts or listen to a lot more podcasts than I do,
yeah,
how do we end this thing? And have we gone too long or too little?
I don't know. How long have we gone? 24 minutes?
I have zero clue. Yeah, did you walk in at 3:00?
No, I walked in at like 2:56.
You're a very prompt person.
That's kind of late. I had to go sanitize my hands across the hall before I came in.
Well, then I should have shaken your hand.
I'll shake your hand.
Good.
Now we need to end the podcast so I can go sanitize my hands.
All right, so how do we end a podcast?
You just say, thank you for being my guest, and then you make a joke or something. I don't know.
Thank you for being my guest, Mr. Gonder. Why did the chicken cross the road?
I don't know. Braden, why does the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side. Thank you so much for watching the first ever episode of the Blue Devil podcast. I'll get used to that eventually. And we will be back eventually with Mr. Dimich as our next guest. Thank you, Mr. Gonder.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome for having you.